Hello, everyone, and welcome into a very special World Cup draw edition of your favorite Average to Good podcast. Call it what you want. We are everywhere today. We're on the Golazo Network, so shout out to you if you're watching us there. Give us a shout out to Golazo America if you're watching us there on the YouTube channel. If you're listening to on your podcast platform of choice, we appreciate you. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Tony Meola, and we are all dressed up and ready to go. I'm in my tux. Tony's in his suit. Chuck is somewhere in D.C. trying to track down Mauricio Pochettino.
On a red carpet.
He's on the red carpet doing what he does. But it's done. Tones, we know who we're going to face at the World Cup in 2026. Well, minus our one team because they're still in a playoff. But we'll figure that out. We're going to get into it. But all the opponents know who they're going to be facing as well. So this was a monumental day, even though it took about 90 minutes for FIFA to actually spit it out and make it happen. We'll get into that pageantry of that show soon enough. But let's talk about our group. That's what everybody wants to dive into. We play Paraguay first on June 12th in LA. We're going to take on Australia second. That game will be in Seattle. And then we come back to LA, and we're going to play the winner of this playoff. It's going to either be Kosovo, Romania, Slovakia, or Turkey. My money's on Turkey. And what's interesting about our group, Big Tones, is that we've played all three of these teams, potentially if Turkey wins it, Australia and Paraguay in the last 6 months in friendlies. And outside of Turkey, we did pretty well against the other two teams. How are you feeling? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, my initial thoughts are, look, and I don't want to say anything that disrespects anybody and disrespects their national teams and all of that, but I'm not quite sure you could have asked for a better draw for the U.S., right? And a more favorable draw. Excuse me. And I'm sure Australia and Paraguay might be saying the same thing about the U.S., right? When they look at pot one, they might be going, "Hey, this is a great draw for us."
Yeah.
But but who wants to play the host country, right? Ever in a World Cup. You just don't want to do that. But I mean, we went through, I don't know how many days of scenarios, right? Where we're going, we want to play this team. We want to play this team. No, we don't want to play this team. Let's avoid Norway. Well, we avoided Norway, right? We got through that. And Norway, talk about a group. We'll get to it in a second, but that's a group of death. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, for me, and I've said it time and time again, the World Cup basically, especially when you don't have qualifying, started today, right? Now we have like a real grasp of what the World Cup is. And I know we'll get Charlie on here in a second, and he's been kind of in the trenches for the last couple of hours and probably gets a better sense of, and you were in Kansas City with a bunch of people, you get a better sense of what the fans feel. But man, I think if you would have given the U.S. this group, a week ago and said, would you sign up for this? They would have put their name on the paper, Jim.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of explaining it. I guess my initial reaction was it could have been worse, like a lot worse. All right, let's bring in Chuck. Chuck's on the red carpet in D.C. Great to see you, Charlie Davies says. Oh, look at us. We're all kitted out, man. We're looking good. We're bringing our A games. It's a big day, obviously, for the U.S. and for Canada and Mexico as the other host nations, and for all the teams that are now in the World Cup. What are your initial thoughts, Chuck? Great to see you.
Jumping for joy. I mean, I heard you say, it could have been worse. Stop it. That's the absolute best draw you could have as a U.S. men's national team fan. So I don't want to hear that bull. We talked about the worst scenarios.
It could have been better. It could have been better.
No, not really.
I mean, you could have had a different pot. We had Paraguay. We could have avoided Paraguay, and we could have gotten, I don't know. I'm looking at the list right now.
Stop it right now.
Qatar.
Australia to be the first team picked.
Yes, that was the best pot two team we could have asked for. 100%.
That's the best possible scenario.
Thank you, Shaquille O'Neal, for drawing that.
Also, pot three. You could have ended up with Norway. You could have ended up with Egypt.
Yes. Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast. So if you're telling me that you have to beat a team that, is really hard to a team that finds opportunities to score goals really difficult. It's a good defensive team. We've played them, but realistically, that's the team you want to face if you're playing a South American opponent. So great. Okay. Paraguay. So now you knocked off two, and then your third opponent is a playoff team. Now, of course, Turkey, when they're playing at their best, is a very good team. And Romania, they're not the Romania I heard Tony mention. It's not the Romania before. There's no Haji walking through the doors, banging free kicks left and right, and being the maestro in the midfield. So if Romania ended up being the team, it was more on passion and intensity and all the other intangibles, and not so much the individual quality amongst that team. So given that, it is a dream scenario. You look at Brazil's group. Group C. Like Haiti's got to go in. I'm just happy to be here. It's gonna be a celebration. We have 3 matches: Brazil, Morocco, Scotland. It's a celebration for us. If we score a goal in this World Cup, that's the win, right? That's the win. We are very fortunate. And then you talk about
no question.
You win that group, you play a third place team in another group, and then ultimately you'd probably end up playing Belgium. If you're talking about pot 1 teams, Belgium's the team you'd want to play out of pot 1. So
right.
Again, it's a dream scenario. Of course, there's no layups. Nothing's given, nothing's guaranteed, nothing's easy. But if you're telling me from a draw perspective, it does not get better for us.
Once we drew Australia, I was like, man, that the soccer gods are shining down upon us. That is remarkable. Of all the teams we could have faced, to get Australia is amazing. Very quickly on the UEFA playoff teams, Kosovo did pretty well in their group. Just want to give a little bit of context for them. They beat Sweden twice throughout World Cup qualifying. Slovakia got a win against Germany while finishing second in their group. And then Turkey was a clear second to Spain. But, I still think they're the favorite out of these 4 teams. Romania was okay. They finished third. They did beat Austria along the way, but I don't think they're even going to get to even the final of this playoff. And I do think that Turkey is going to have enough quality to get through. That said, you still have to play the games, and you never know what's going to happen. So let's talk, Tones, about the order of when we play these teams. So Australia, we're actually going to play in our second game. Okay, that'll be up in Seattle. The first game is against Paraguay, June 12th at home in LA, SoFi Stadium. Obviously, all the games are at home. And then the last game will be against the UEFA playoff team. And so how do you like the order? Because it's all about building momentum, obviously. I mean, where are you on this? And obviously, you have your own 94 World Cup to lean on in terms of experience of like who you'd want to play first and stuff, whatnot.
Well, yeah, I was going to go there with experience playing these teams. If they do get Turkey, the one thing there'll be a sense of comfort having played these teams already, right? That unknown is not there anymore, right? So you're gonna feel just inherently a little bit more comfortable. Back in '94, things were different with regards to being able to schedule games. Bora's mission in scheduling games was he wanted to play everybody in the world because he didn't want to get to the World Cup and have that be the first time we face somebody. Now, clearly, you can't play everybody in the world. But if you look at our group in 1994, we played all of those teams at some point during Bora's time with the national team. So there was a sense of, okay, we kind of know what we're going to get ourselves into here. The U.S. will have a little bit of that for sure. Having beaten 2 of those teams, okay, that even helps more. With regards to the order, I think it's great because you're getting a South American team. And the one thing with all these South Americans, now they finished 6th in their CONMEBOL qualifying, it's just going to be a battle. Right, they'll be familiar with them, but come World Cup, what this means to the Paraguayan players, what it should mean to the U.S. players. So there's no sense of ever even thinking remotely that you're going to take your foot off the pedal for 1 second. Opening day of the World Cup, Jimmy, I love the travel for the U.S. Right, it's L.A. in the first round, Seattle, and then back to L.A. There's basically no travel.
Yeah, same time zone. Yeah,
round of 32. You're in the Bay Area if they go there. Should they move on, they're back in Seattle, L.A., and then, if you got to travel for the semifinals, I think you can deal with it. You go to Dallas. And if you got to go all the way to the East Coast for the finals, you go to the great state of New Jersey and play in that venue. But that's maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But the travel's not going to be an issue. So there are a lot of things that are aligning right now for the U.S. But, of course, as Mauricio Pochettino, we'll hear it a little bit later, says, they got to go and play really good opponents.
Now, speaking of Mauricio Pochettino, do you get a chance to talk with him? Chuck, what did he say?
Yeah, he said, I think there was a couple of questions asked to him. I asked him in particular, how does knowing your opponent 6 months in advance change your preparation, if at all? And he said, no, we're going to come at it the same way that we have been. Obviously, he's going to be watching tapes of the 3 or 4 playoff teams and trying to get a better sense for them. But you just have to wait and be patient. And for them just to continue to do what they've been focused on and what they've been working on, which is obviously the flexibility of playing with that back 3, but also the intensity that comes with representing your country and pushing everybody. So, he was positive. And at the same time,
he should be because just like us. Well, you've been a little bit more open about it. in terms of like, this is a group of life, as I'm seeing in the comments, better than group of death, of course. You want to be respectful of your opponents, but like secretly, like, holy shit, this is awesome. You know, I think this couldn't have gone any better, but he can't come out and say that, obviously. And those opponents too, right? They had a chance to play against us, so they're going to feel like they have an idea of how we like to play and what we like to do. But ultimately, I think it gives us more confidence because we won those games. I want to get into some Mauricio Pochettino quotes that he had right afterwards before he spoke to you, Chuck, and I think they probably echo the sentiments that he said to you as well. I know that producer Des is going to throw up one of them so I can read it word for word for you. Here it is. He says, this is on the pressure to get out of the group. He said, what we cannot do is put pressure on our players. The players need to enjoy and feel free to perform. We need to show respect for our opponents. We cannot win before we play. We cannot look ahead to the next round when we haven't played it. My message to the players is Paraguay, Australia, and the other team are going to be very difficult. And so,
yeah, it's the right message. What message did you expect for him to say?
Of course.
Oh yes, this is easy. We're through to the quarterfinals.
I want him to say that. I'm just kidding. He wouldn't say that. You can't.
He just got done breaking down this whole entitlement with this current group.
Yeah.
So that players don't feel comfortable anymore. So he just got. Now you're gonna say, "Hey guys, be comfortable. We're good." So
right.
You know, it's. For me, he's gone about it the right way, albeit I thought it was a little too slow to begin with, but we finally got to where we wanted to see them. And I think it wasn't not only the shift in mentality, but it was the shift in formation, right? The tactics of it, because that's what we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're like, every national team player is eventually going to get that you have to play with your heart and you have to play with the country in your mind, that, you know, you're trying to inspire a whole generation. You better play with that. But now, if I'm getting a top coach that we're paying a lot of money to get, I better start to see the tactics part of the game, the different shifts in and out of possession, and the strategy around pressing versus dropping back versus counter versus the set piece dominance. So now we're starting to see that come to fruition after he's finally set the mentality.
Yeah. I think you're right. He laid a cultural foundation first before he really got into the tactics. There's one more quote.
Jimmy,
yeah, go ahead.
Really quick. You know, Poch wrote that quote yesterday. He just filled the teams in today, right? Like,
I absolutely love that.
Charlie nailed it. I mean, what else are you going to say, right? Like he nailed it, and that's the only way you can approach it.
Yeah, of course. He had one more quote too. We're going to throw up here on screen. He said, "We already know." This is about the outlook of Group D now that the team's been out. We already know. We already played these teams recently, Paraguay and Australia. With everything we know, it's very fresh. We need to respect all the opponents. All are going to be difficult. We know Paraguay was doing so well in South American qualification, and Australia, until we played them, were unbeaten in 12 games. And so that was another quote. And just as a reminder, we beat Paraguay recently 2-1. And Gio Reyna, that's where he scored the header in that game. Flo Balogun came on later. He got an assist from Gio to win that one 2-1. Miguel Almiron had that great assist across that we didn't handle very well. That was their lone goal. Against Australia, we were down 1-0. Remember, it was a throw-in. A lot of players weren't really closing. Somebody, it was like they were waiting for somebody else to do it. And Australia had a nice finish there. And then we came back, and Haji Wright had 2 goals in that game. Christian Roldan.
Can I ask you guys a question?
I just want to remind everybody of those games. Yeah, go ahead.
One, what did you think of the draw in terms of how it went down and the different, aspects of celebrities on stage and how they were breaking down?
We needed big tones out there, Chuck. We needed a former national team player. That's one.
Okay. And then 2, which grouping in talking about pulling out the best teams per group, which matchup excites you the most?
Ooh,
that's a good question. Are you talking about?
Like,
go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, of all the groups, which matchup excites you the most in the group stage?
My eye went to Brazil-Morocco for some reason.
I love that game a lot.
When I saw that grouping, I was like, oh man, that's a fun one right there. France-Norway could be another one. I was going to say
France-Senegal to me.
Yeah,
France-Senegal.
I think of that 2002 monumental match for Senegal. That's one that just stood out to me. Like, could Senegal do it again? Upset World Cup finalists, and in 2002 upset World Cup champions in the group stage.
Yeah, I like Portugal-Colombia. I think it's going to be a really good game. England, Croatia, you have a rematch of the 2018 semifinals. I think that's got some good storylines. Spain, Uruguay, I was like, all right, that could be really tasty, especially because Uruguay has to have a response based on how they've been performing lately and not being able to score. So those ones jump out at me. I love the ones you guys mentioned as well. Germany, Ivory Coast could be a really good game. I know they had a friendly plan for March, and now they're scrambling to get different opponents because they're not allowed to play each other. But yeah,
could
Brazil.
That be TBD? That could be the
exactly.
TBD
That's the
team?
TBD.
No,
TBD.
that's in
Hey,
May, I think.
Now knowing our group, who would be your TBD for the U.S. now? Would you? For me, I would
take Ivory Coast. I'd
want to play an African team. Yeah, I want to play an African team.
Yeah, I would happily.
What about Cabo Verde?
Hell, since we didn't get Ghana in the World Cup, we may as well play them before.
Why not?
Right? I mean,
keep the tradition.
We didn't
going.
get them when we wanted them. So
I love
that. That would be. They would all be good, man. We should play an African team. Yeah.
No, it should be a lot of fun. All right. Any kind of final thoughts about our group overall? I mean, we're going to be talking about these teams for quite some time, and we have to wait till March until we see Kosovo, Romania, Slovakia, or Turkey, whoever comes through there. Are you guys all on board? Do you think Turkey is going to get through? Like Turkey is the out and out?
Could Turkey be the? I mean, they could eventually be the toughest opponent, right? In that group.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, a solid team. We're waiting to maybe find our toughest opponent in the group. Now, and again, I say all of this. No, I'm not disrespecting the other teams, but it could be.
And that might be a team where we need to get a result. Hopefully, we don't leave it to the last game to have to get a result against the Turkey side. Chuck, I was expecting us to maybe get somebody different, but I guess once Paraguay and Australia came out, I knew we were going to get. Well, I guess Ghana was still an opportunity to get in there, but
you needed a European.
You needed a European team. So
it was going to be a European team at that point.
Yeah, that's right. So that I guess of all the UEFA playoffs, this one feels the best. It's hard to say because you don't know who's going to be the winners yet. You know, they got to fight it out first. But we won't know, obviously, our full group until March. But overall, I'm excited about this group. I mean, it's one of those things. If we didn't have the cameras on, we weren't all dressed up in tuxes and suits, and like we're just talking to our friends. Like if we can't, I would say, if we can't get out of this group, we've got really big problems, especially when you have 8 third-place teams that get through. So there's a much bigger thing going on. So I'm feeling good. We're going to get through our group. Now it's about where we finish, right, Chuck? It's like. It's going to be very strategic. We want to potentially, to your point,
we got to think about finishing first, Jimmy.
Yeah, you got to finish first. Round of 16,
have
Belgium.
To think about that.
Right.
Yeah. We all talk about the group stage and what that means and waiting for your draw on your opponents, but we all know if you had a group of death drawn up for you, let's just say you had Colombia instead of Paraguay, and then
Norway.
You had Norway. And then you throw in a Euro playoff, right? And you get say Turkey, right? You all know that the mindset completely shifts to, oh shit. Like I don't like hopefully we get third, maybe we're gonna get third place, versus the group that we have, and now you're starting to say, okay, we obviously have to take care of business, but I'm inspired that that it's real possible that we can see the pathway to getting to the final 8. And that includes beating a Belgium. And if Belgium takes care of business, right? So I think there's a lot to be said about having a pathway, which is luck of the draw, and going in your favor, which it has. So we all know you got to take care of business and you got to take it game by game, but mentally to know that it is very doable. You're not climbing Mount Everest to just get to the round of 16. I think we can all get behind the team, like Pochettino said, be super supportive and positive.
Listen to that point, and then we're going to take our first break of the show. Going into 2006, we were preparing for Czech Republic, Italy, and Ghana. If you would have told me we were preparing for Paraguay, Australia, and whoever comes out of the playoff, I would have been like, to your point, Chuck, all right, I'm feeling good about this. The other one, you're like, oh my God, we have to play perfect to beat these guys. And that adds a layer of pressure.
And you got your ass whooped game 1. And you...
Hey, why are you bringing up old stuff, Chuck? But we did get our ass whooped. Honestly, the best performance I've seen a national team play against us in person, on TV. They were so good. Czech Republic. Shout out to Jan Koller and Thomas Rosicky and
Oh,
Pavel Nedved.
boy.
Unbelievable. All right, we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we'll get into all the groups, including our co-hosts, and take a look at some other groups of death, group of life. Should be a lot of fun. So many games to talk about.
Group of life, baby!
We got it. Welcome back into your favorite average to good show. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Meola. We're breaking down the World Cup draw. We just got through what happened for the Americans in Group D, but let's take a look and talk about our co-hosts. We got Mexico in Group A and Canada in Group B. We're going to start with Mexico first. I would say, Big Tones, they got to be pretty happy with that. They got some teams that I would say are manageable, kind of similar to us. They got South Korea and South Africa. And then they have one European team that's still to be determined. It's either Denmark, Macedonia, Czechia, or Ireland. Now, I think similar to us, that could be the hardest opponent that they have ultimately in their group. But they just came off a 2-2 draw with South Korea not too long ago. The last time they played South Africa was back in 2010. That was a 1-1 draw. And of the European teams, they played only Ireland, and that was back in 94. They won that one 2-1. But I think this is and because Mexico's playing at home, very similar, going to have a lot of energy tones. How do you feel about their group?
Yeah, I think, again, they'd be happy with their group as well. I'm trying to think, is South Africa the first game that they have? And that will be in what, Mexico City?
Yeah, they play South Africa first.
That's almost a reverse. That's the reverse fixture in 2010, where South Africa played Mexico and South Africa won in that first game.
Yeah, I think that, of course, a lot of your World Cup depends on the start, but that's about as good a start as I think you get if you're Mexico, right? You're going to be at home. You know what that crowd's going to be like. You're going to be at altitude. It's going to be difficult for teams. Quite honestly, I know we're going to get to all three of these groups. I think all three of these groups are pretty favorable Like they
the
all could
hosts.
have been a little bit
Yeah,
worse.
yeah, I agree.
For these teams, but I think Mexico will be happy, Jimmy, with this draw. Didn't they just play South Korea recently?
They did. It was 2-2. It was a 2-2 draw.
Game.
They didn't look great in that game, but they did enough to get.
Again, familiar though. World Cup first game.
Yeah.
At home, like then there's going to be a different energy in the stadium. I think that they'll be happy with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Chuck, they're going to play Portugal and Belgium in this upcoming friendly window as well in March. So they got two good opponents just like we do. How are you feeling about Mexico getting through this group? And where do you actually think they're going to finish, Chuck? I could see them winning this group based unless the European team that comes through just feels like they're going to get red hot.
I could see them winning this group. I could also see them finishing third in this group.
Woo!
So,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, people are forgetting how good South Korea can be. Of course, you know.
Well, they took it to us, you know.
Yeah, the consistency is kind of up and down sometimes, but you throw in a strong South Korea and a strong European playoff team. Let's say it's Denmark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they probably the best team in the group?
I would say it's. I mean, I'm hoping for that because my family's Danish, but you know, I don't think any of those games are hard because if Denmark wins, they have to travel to either Ireland or Czechia. So it's no guarantees, right? So
yeah.
that's
I have not been convinced with the way Mexico has played. So that's one.
Okay.
I'm not convinced of the depth that Mexico has. That's two. And then three, if their fans don't support them the way that Mauricio Pochettino,
they will.
You say that.
They will. It's a World Cup, man.
Tony, don't underestimate that angst amongst
they will though. It's a World Cup at home, man. They're going to be that might be the best support anybody has in the World Cup right there.
I hope so.
Okay.
In my opinion. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Canada then. They're in a group with Qatar. They got to be thrilled about that. And they got Switzerland, who I think are a very good team. I could see the Swiss being the favorites to end up winning the group. And then they have the winner of playoff A in UEFA.
Playoff A's that's Italy, Northern Ireland,
that's
Wales,
Italy one. Yeah, Italy,
Bosnia, Herzegovina.
That's right. And who knows who's going to come out of that one? We don't know which version of Italy's going to show up. But if Italy gets through, or any of the teams get through, it's still a relatively tough group. When you look at it from a Canadian perspective, Tones, I'll come to you first. You have Qatar. If you're looking at this unemotionally, like that has to be 3 points, right? We're looking at this on paper. We have to beat Qatar.
Yeah.
Switzerland, you're hoping, okay, it's going to be a good game, and who knows how it could go. We think we're good enough to win, of course. That goes without saying. But if we could get a draw out of that game, that still gets us in a good spot to maybe get a result against that other UEFA team. How are you feeling about Canada? I agree with you that these are all manageable groups for the hosts, but this one feels like it could be outside of Qatar. The other two teams could be a little bit trickier.
Yeah, I think they'll certainly think they're better than Qatar, right? And they are, and they can be. So it's a very winnable game, depending on the European team. But we know, as we're talking about, it's going to be difficult. And Switzerland still, I don't know about you guys. I said to Chuck yesterday on this show, like, I can't get that Switzerland-U.S. game out of my head, and it's a roadblock for me. Like thinking about how good they were and how they
were so good,
and that might be their best day, right? We might have caught them on the best day. And
no, they took it. They took it to Mexico as well. In the same window, they played Mexico.
Yeah,
they played Mexico
as
well.
They're talented.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to convince me that Switzerland is the best team in the group, like it's going to be hard to argue, right? So of the three teams, again, in CONCACAF, I still think we got the most favorable group.
All right. So Canada's been in 2 World Cups in '86 and in 2022. They've played 6 all-time games in the World Cup, Chuck, and they have lost all 6 of those. I'm feeling pretty good that they're going to get at least a point in this World Cup. Their first ever World Cup point. How are you feeling about their group, and where do you think they're going to finish?
I'm going to go with second in the group.
You got Swiss first and then?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Tony's already kind of saying it without saying it out loud or straight away. But I think Switzerland are going to be the best team in the group. I think they have a clear identity of how they want to play. That doesn't mean that Jesse hasn't done that with Canada. I just think the talent and the experience and the savvy, I would say. I think there's just more savviness. When I watch Switzerland play, Canada's still trying to get there and maybe aren't as consistent with how they want to do it. But Switzerland, man, on both sides of the ball, they look very clean. in how they want to move and how they want to keep it and where they're trying to exploit space. So yeah, for me, Switzerland's almost the clear front runner in this group, whereas I think Mexico and the US are probably the clear front runners for their respective groups. And so this is where the one group where, okay, whatever, even a third place team can get through. And I think Canada will find a way to at least get third, but I could see them finishing second for sure. And obviously Jesse and the fans there are going to get behind the team. What's interesting is if Italy can get through and be the playoff team, it would be Canada versus Italy in Toronto for their first game. Oof. And that would be
might not be a home game.
It might not be a home game. There are a lot of Italians in Toronto.
Buy those tickets now in Toronto.
Yeah, that would be no joke. I mean, yeah,
by the way,
a group of Switzerland, Italy, Canada, Qatar. Woo.
Jesse was kind of all doom and gloom. I think he was doing the whole, reverse jinx.
Yeah,
coming
of course he was.
Walking all, in, and he said, every time I have a draw, I get the worst draw, the most difficult. It's all.
Is that what he said to you? Did you talk to him?
Yeah. As we walked in, literally. And, he's saying, yeah, we always get the worst draw. Champions League, I've always had, I'm always getting drawn with the biggest clubs. And I said, I think today's going to be your day. So you're due for one. And here he is. He got a favorable draw.
He did. He's probably still going to compare himself to US and Mexico and be like, well, we got the worst of the three. He's going to be. But.
Yeah, but Switzerland, when I saw that, I went, ooh. But then.
It's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough game. Qatar, though, definitely manageable. You still have to go out there and make plays. Okay, let's talk about then the groups overall. Yeah, we've talked about Group A, Group B, Group D. That's us with Paraguay, Australia, and we think eventually Turkey. Reportedly, potentially could be Turkey. We already talked about kind of matchups. Is there a group of death? I think this is actually kind of what's cool about it. Well, I actually like that we've expanded the tournament for a lot of different reasons. Initially, I was like, why did they do that? It felt great at 32, but the fact that you could get a Scotland and a Norway in and Austria, who haven't been in since 1998, are incredible storylines. Haiti having an opportunity to get in since first time since 82. I just don't know if they would ever get in if it was stuck at 32. Then you obviously have the first timers, Uzbekistan and Curacao and Cabo Verde. Like, amazing how much qualifying meant to those respective countries. Now they're going to get to participate in it. So
there's no group of death, by the way.
Okay, cool. Then you've answered my question.
Group I, you don't
group
like
I.
That one?
It could
France,
be
Senegal, Norway.
It's a difficult group of death. I mean, it all depends on who the fourth one is. It's probably the most difficult group of what we're seeing right now. But I would have said if Group C was on their way, if it wasn't Haiti with Brazil, Morocco, Scotland, and say they had another European team there, then you have what it takes to make it a group of death. But I think, it's usually just three teams typically in this so far.
I want to give a shout out to Group L because I think Panama is just going to be hard to beat. So you throw Panama in a group with Ghana. Ghana's not the same as they once were, right? They're a pot 4 team. They have fallen off. They're not the Ghana of 2006, 2010, 2014. It's a new generation. They're not as strong as they once were, but not going to be easy to play against. Croatia, of course, and England are going to be tough. Those are going to be hard. Those are hard games to win. I guess we could say that about every game, but I feel like I wanted to give at least a little bit of a shout to Group L.
I'll tell you right now, the groups that were off to a terrible start. If Spain had Uruguay and then Portugal drew Colombia. I said, oh man.
Yeah.
Where Brazil, Morocco, I thought some of the, these are about to be the group of death. And then, it didn't end up working.
It got a little watered down. How about Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador? I think you got 3 teams in there that are very good. And then Curaçao's just happy to be there. They're the happy to be there team, but doesn't mean they're going to be pushovers either. Mm-hmm. Group E, I think, has a little bit of group of death-esque, but ultimately, because of the addition of the teams, it feels like it's balanced, more balanced than it's ever been. Tones, what do you say on that?
Yeah, and it's Germany's side, right? That has been a little tricky over the last year and a half, right? Curacao, you're right. I mean, qualifying was great. They get through. That'll be the team that all the other 3 will be looking at. The Ivory Coast, right? I mean, just talented every time you see them play. And we've seen Ecuador before, and they've had a really good qualifying. So that's a good group. I was looking at that France, Senegal, Norway. So their playoff bracket would find them with either, it looks like Bolivia or Iraq in that one. Suriname's the other team in that group. So that would be the team that finishes out that group. So Bolivia might be a little bit of a pain in the neck, right? If they get through, they look like the favorite there. So that would round out that group. But yeah, that Group B is pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, and then Group F, you got Netherlands, Japan, Tunisia, who I don't think people should sleep on. Fun fact about Tunisia, they played 10 World Cup qualifiers, 22 goals for, 0 against. Absolutely walked their group, 9 wins, 1 draw. I'm glad we didn't get them in. As I started to take a deeper dive into them, I was like, I don't want to play these guys. They are very good, and so I think that'll be a difficult group as well. All right, let's bring it back to the U.S. though, because I'm feeling good, and I'm feeling good about where we're sitting, who we're playing, when we're playing them. Obviously, we don't know who the third opponent is going to be, but when you start to look at these respective opponents, I'll go back to Paraguay first, right? That was the 2-1 game. We had Balogun start up top. You had Brendan Aronson and Gio Reyna as the 10s. Roldan and Tessman as the 6s. Arfson on the left, Dest on the right. Ream, Miles Robinson, and Scally as the back 3 and Freeze in goal. I think what's interesting is we use that experience, and Chuck, I'll come to you first, and we hear, even with how we played against Australia, still in a back 3, had success, won both of those games. Do you feel like now the coaching staff, Mauricio Pochettino's coaching staff, are going to start to think, I really liked, let's say, Arfson against this opponent, or now I can start to think about Gio maybe against this particular opponent, or whatever it may be. I think that's what's exciting about knowing who we're going to play as well.
I would say no, with 6 months to go.
Okay,
a lot can change. Injuries form.
We're playing games on paper right now, baby. Let's get into the paper.
Yeah, no, but I think it's a good reference point when you're thinking about, okay, we got a good sense of how they play, how they line up, some of their tactics, maybe some of the changes that they might make within the game. But ultimately, we all know you got to ramp it up one more notch when you're playing in a World Cup. I still think Paraguay are not that dangerous going forward. They don't have players that are going to break you down. They don't have a Luis Diaz. They don't have a Messi or a Lautaro Martinez or a Rafinha or a Rodrigo. They don't have those players. But what they play with is they make it super tough to break down. They're defensive. They look to counter and set pieces. So you have a good understanding of how they're going to play. Now it's for Mauricio Pochettino and his staff to think about, okay, what are different ways we can break them down? What are different ways we can get at them? Who helps us in when we're trying to kind of exploit some of their weaknesses? I think, it's a favorable opponent. If you have to pick an opponent in a World Cup out of South America, that's the team you're picking. So again, the work is cut out for the U.S. to play against them and get a result, but they should get an absolute 3 points when they play their best against Paraguay.
Now, I remember 6 months in advance of the 2006 World Cup, I was in the January camp, and Glenn Meyernick, Mooch, rest in peace, he came up to me during the warm-up, and he goes, I want you to start thinking about Jan Koller right now, who was the starting striker for Czech Republic. At that point, I was still in the bubble. He's like, he wants me to start talking about or thinking about Czech Republic players? That's amazing. Am I on the team? Now, of course, I still had to work and make it happen, and thankfully I did. But there was still a thought, Chuck, and similar to what you said in the earlier segment. Okay, we know our teams, and we know what we should look out for and how we should prepare. And now we need to start thinking about those teams in that way. And I think that's a positive. And it goes for our opponents as well. But Tones, let's go back to your experience. You played against familiar opponents going into the 94 World Cup that we were hosting. How much did you lean on those games, or did they, because they were friendlies, were kind of not necessarily thrown out the window, but you just know it's going to be a little bit different once the World Cup hits?
Yeah, keep in mind, remember, and I don't want to lose sight of this ever, and I try not to. Friendlies back in the day, you still got the full team of everybody. There was no resting players. The schedule wasn't as condensed. There weren't as many games. So you had a full complement of players. I mean, whoever was available for the opponent or for the U.S., those guys played all the time. There wasn't a lot of experimentation. So we probably got a better sense of the players, Jimmy, the individuals, what they look like, their movements and all of that stuff. Now you can make an argument like, no, we get a better sense now because we see every game in the world and we can figure out who every player in the world is, right? So I guess but there's just something about playing those opponents. You guys know, like, if it, just think about it. If you, in our case, we had to play Colombia in the World Cup, right? Colombia was one of the favorites to get to the semifinals of the World Cup.
Yeah.
We had played them like 5 or 6 times in like the 3 years leading up to that. And I think we lost in penalty kicks once in Miami. I remember that. I think we lost to them 1-0 like 4 times, and we came out of a couple games and you're frustrated, but we're like, man, we can get over the hump, And then finally the World Cup came, we got over the hump. But I think that was the first time we beat them in any of those games, right? So, but if you have to play a team like Colombia for the first time, who's now picked to go to a semifinal, they get drawn in your group, and you're like, man, I wonder what it's going to be like to play against Colombia. Like, we didn't have any of that. We played Switzerland just before, shortly before that. Romania, I think we had played in a game in China in a round robin tournament that we're in, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Crazy, but I mean, we traveled the world, right? So, you got a sense of the group you were playing, but these guys, this game's going to be so close to the World Cup, basically, right? They're going to get a really good sense, and they're going to feel comfortable with this.
All right, we're going to take our last break and call it what you want. When we come back, we're talking about more of the World Cup draw because we can't talk about anything else. Keep it right here. Welcome back into a very special World Cup draw edition of Call It What You Want. We are delivering the average to goods, as they say. I'm Jimmy Conrad, also known as Conradinho, alongside Check, Chase, and Chuck and Big Tones. And Charlie, you are in D.C. But before we get into some of the details of your trip and your journey down there, you got to speak to Mauricio Pochettino. So we're going to take a look at that video right now.
What's the biggest advantage from a coaching perspective, knowing your group 6 months in advance ahead of the World Cup?
I think we are all in the same position, same place.
Does it change anything for you?
It doesn't change. Doesn't change because the key is going to be when I arrive the last moment and see how your player form, fitness, everything, no? And that is going to be the key. The most important now is to keep moving, no? Forward, the team, creating good dynamics in all the aspects, pushing and trying to improve. And then we'll arrive the moment we see the condition that the player to decide the roster, no? On them. But I think now it's more about the feelings that you start to live the experience of the World Cup than to be clinic in your analysis about the opponent.
All right, we're hearing there from Mauricio Pochettino, very own Charlie Davies. Got to hang out with him. Who else did you speak to? Chuck, did you get a chance to? Oh, Chuck's on mute. He's on mute. He pulled the Tony Meola here.
Damn it!
He did it. He did.
I did.
Tony Meola.
So easy, Chuck. It's so easy.
I'm so. I just want to slap myself. You know, I tried to be slick and make a call to room service to get food. I was like, you know what? I gotta mute this just in case. But I was gonna say the media scrums are chaotic. I've been in one or two before. This was guys throwing mics and cameras in my head. iPhones were bouncing off my temple, and I'm like, Tony, do I have to get physical in here? I had to get low, get my squat out, get my elbows, out. I said, oh my God. But no, there were a number of questions, and Pochettino, was gonna answer them the way that we all expected. If you played the game, if you've been in the locker room, you play at the highest level like us, you know what he's gonna say. He's not gonna come out and say anything, that's bulletin board material. He's just not gonna do it. So I think from that standpoint, he's been in the Premier League. When you're managing Tottenham, you're gonna get types of questions, right? PSG with Messi and Mbappe. So he's as smart as they come when it comes to this. Everything is intentional. He's thought about questions he's going to get. And I think he's handled it in the right way, almost the way that we would all expect.
Can I ask where Ivis was while you're getting whacked with iPhones and microphones? Wasn't he there to be your bodyguard?
Yeah, what happened with Ivis?
He was there. He was to his credit, he was filming, so he was kind of focused on, all right, you got to survive out there. I'm filming.
Yeah, Ivis got to give him the stare, like, oh.
Yeah. No, by the way,
the Jersey stare, man.
Nothing that we anticipated happened. Just so you know.
Okay.
If there was a checklist of things that we were supposed to do or we thought we were going to do it was not checked, not checked, not checked, not checked, not checked. And then on top of that, the hour and 50-minute wait in the morning with the snow coming down and your toes turn to ice cubes. No one anticipated that. So,
hey, Tones, you remember how eager Chuck was to get down to DC and to go to this event?
Can't wait to get to the red carpet, the red now white carpet, white carpet.
Chuck doesn't want to do it anymore.
I saw with the side of my eye as I was walking by. But this is the thing. I would do it a million times again, just because
it's awesome, man.
You're here in DC. You get a sense of the excitement. You at least I saw a number of people, anyways. I even ran into Thierry, right at the top before the show. Me and Hannah are like, you know what? Let's try and see if we can get over to the stage. We go up the stairs. There's these little trailers in between the buildings. And as soon as we get to one of the trailers, the door pops out open and it's Rob Stone and Thierry. And he's like, oh, where are you going? I go, I don't know. I said, we're going to follow you. So we follow them and we're talking, how's it been? They're constantly doing all these media engagements. And we get to the door to the stage and there's a security guard there. He goes, hey, you got ones on your necklace? I go, I got a 5. He goes, get out. So no, it was so cool. I'm not gonna lie. Whether I was on the floor, in the stage, being in the middle of everything, or just getting a chance to watch with all the journalists, it was still an incredible experience.
Yeah, the one thing, and I'm going to circle back to it because you mentioned
brother.
it a little bit earlier, and I wanted Tones to chime in here because Tones, you got invited but couldn't end up going. I just felt like there should have been some American former national team player presence that just didn't exist. And maybe you were going to be that for them, but if you couldn't go, they should have still had somebody, right?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before the show. I think guys like Wayne Gretzky and Aaron Judge and Shaq, maybe a little bit more worldwide, they resonate around the world, or he would resonate around the world. But some of those other guys probably don't resonate around the world, right? Yeah, I just think maybe we missed the boat a little bit there, but maybe if guys like us were on stage, we wouldn't have picked Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey and Romania out of the group. So
and those guys for making that happen.
Those guys did it for us. But yeah, look, I tell you all the time, I think those things are way drawn out, too long for me. They could be done in 15 minutes. I get it all, but yeah, in the end, I thought it was a pretty good show. And FIFA, when they get to America, they feel like they just got to do. We did this in '94. They just got to do it a little bit different. And but it is what it is. And we all watched it, right? We were all
watched. We all waiting. And now
man,
I know that
Shaq was having a tough time opening those balls.
I was surprised his hand fit in the bowl, man.
I was waiting for him to drop the name tag. I was waiting, and I was gonna say, oh, what's gonna happen here? Because then the integrity of the draw is compromised.
Yeah, I couldn't get over the.
Yeah.
I couldn't get over that and the height difference between Kevin Hart and Heidi Klum.
Oh my gosh!
God.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Just them two alone. And then obviously when Shaq comes on, Kevin Hart looks like his little kid.
By the way, they didn't even have the lights on when he was wearing black. He was just blending in. You just saw his teeth talk, and Heidi Klum's there standing like a giant over him. But I thought it was. And then Wayne Gretzky trying to pronounce some of the names. That was pretty funny.
He might have missed Curacao. He might have missed that one.
He might.
Curacao.
Poor guy. They should have prepped him that was a possibility. All right, let's get to a question or two before we say goodbye to everybody and send them on their way. Hopefully feeling good after that draw. And the first one is a poll here. Lizzie says, "Who wears the suit the best between us three?" Ooh,
you went tux. You went bow tie tux. They asked me last night around 9:00. I got a message. Can you wear a tux for the? I'm like, I go in there. My tux was from my wedding. I'm like, it doesn't quite fit the same that it used to when I got married. So, but I'm gonna go with the bow. I mean, you pull a bow tie out. That's a different level.
I got a ruffled shirt on.
Although Charlie looks. Oh yeah, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, the ruffles.
Chuck, you look great too, but I got to go with the ruffles.
Thank you very much. I'll take that award. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody's thoughts there. This one is from Rooney. Rooney says, liveliest host city. Which one do you think is going to be the best out of the 16 that are participating?
All right,
Canada, Mexico.
I'm gonna just make it in the United States because I don't know if anyone's gonna compete with Azteca when it's at its peak. Because let's be honest, Azteca's a beast.
Another level.
It's another level. In America, the liveliest crowd. No,
I mean it can,
but
there's a variable of like
Haiti plays in
there.
Miami.
Haiti's gonna play in Boston, I think too.
Yeah, I would bet like some of the Kansas City would be good. Right, Kansas City's
always
right
good.
Now.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, they always show up for these events, but I mean, New York's going to be great. Dallas has the most games, right? But it's not exactly in Dallas. I wonder where they're going to so when you get to the World Cup, like all these supporters groups just kind of, when we were in Russia, like they all got, they were all in an area. I forget the area in Moscow that was called, but it was by Red Square. And they all knew they were there, man. There were thousands and thousands of people. And different supporters groups. So then one supporter group would sing their national songs, and then the next supporter group would go, and then all the other supporter groups would cheer for them because they were doing a good job, even though it wasn't their national team. Like it was me and Tab Ramos. I think we told you we sat out and had coffee like 2 days. just as fans, like sat there and were watching this go on. It was crazy, man.
I got it.
What do you got?
It's going to be Atlanta, and it's Atlanta because of the semi-dome. They can that
Keep all
they
the-
just
the
know how to
energy
amplify
in.
the noise. Now, outside of that, I think Seattle, thinking of the Sounders, thinking of just how loud that atmosphere is going to be for the U.S. men's national team in that second game, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be bizarre, bananas. But there's a person in the chat that said Boston. If Boston gets Brazil, because they're going to get 3 Group H games, and they're going to get a Group I game, and so they could get England on the 250th anniversary of our country,
That'd
where
be crazy.
we beat the
Yeah.
Redcoats. So
The Boston Tea Party.
I think if you got a Brazil versus a Haiti in Boston, or that's going to
Popping
be
off.
ridiculous. You could also get France Senegal in Boston. You get one of those games. So essentially, there's going to be some games and some stadiums that could really stand a chance to kill it.
Yeah, we're going to find all this out tomorrow, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the venues and the schedule gets dropped tomorrow, but we just have the groups today. Very, very exciting. And man, I cannot wait for this tournament. Now we got to wait to see how everything plays out. We still have some playoff teams that have to get in there, and we'll see who we have as our final opponent in our group. And what a day. I'm thrilled. We've been talking about this day. We've been talking about this World Cup for so long. We have more to talk about now that we know the opponents and the path forward, but it's an absolute pleasure to do this with you guys, to be on the Golasso Network, to be on the Golasso America YouTube channel with all of our community that's on the podcast platforms of their choices. We love it, and we can't wait to see what happens in the next 6 months. We continue to build this out and continue to have more and more shows. The best community out there.
By the way, Jimmy, before you close it out, I got to say this, because my dad and my mom, they watch every show.
I love that.
They're huge fans. My dad just turned 70.
Oh, happy birthday.
Want to give him a proper birthday shout out on this show, because he's always watching. My mom turns 72 in January, but they're always watching, and they love our show.
So. I love that. And what's funny is I came out here to Kansas City to host this World Cup draw, and it was great. The fans were amazing. I flew my mom out, so shout out to my mom who came out with me to spend some time. Yeah, I wanted to.
By the way, the Kansas City crowd looked like proper.
Proper. They came out, baby. They were ready. They're going to host games from E, F, and J. So they're going to have Argentina most likely here at Arrowhead. They're excited about that. And then they'll get the winner of K. They have a round of 32 game and a quarterfinal. So lots of hype, and everybody's excited. Once Argentina was, they lost their minds once they knew that Messi was going to probably play a couple big games here at Arrowhead. So very exciting times. All right, that's it. We're calling it a show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. No matter where you're watching or listening to this, we're having a great time. We cannot wait for the World Cup, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So keep it here. Keep following us, and we'll give you all the good info like we always do. All right, see you soon. Later.
Peace.